Croxton and Harrison are ordered to remount and advance toward Ashby and Ross, who are now across the Browns Mill Road, preventing the Union column from entering the LaGrange Road. Ashby and Ross are advancing eastward along the Browns Mill Road under fire from the 18th Indiana Battery. 3 Confederate charges on the battery rout Union skirmishers at the edge of the woods. The Confederates get within 80 yards of the guns and are turned back by rapid firing of canisters. Croxton's brigade passes the 2nd Indiana, which is herding the Confederate prisoners captured in Fayetteville and the mule train into a ravine south of Browns Mill Road. Croxton's horsemen break into a charge, knifing through a line formed by Ross's Texans, and heavy fighting rages for the next hour. Wheeler rallies Humes and they push Harrison's brigade to the south side of the Browns Mill Road into a 100-acre field. Hearing the fighting to the right, Wheeler and Humes move to support Ross, now aided by Ashby as they fight Croxton's brigade. Roddy's brigade and Anderson's brigade are approaching the battlefield. The 18th Indiana Battery is firing to the north and east toward the massing Confederate forces on Browns Mill Road. Croxton's brigade forms a line of battle on the dirt track leading to George Cook's house, facing Ross's, Ashby's, and Hume's brigades. Roddy moves onto high ground opposite Harrison's brigade, now separated from Croxton by a deep ravine. Ross is ordered past Ashby's brigade to get in the rear of McCook's line by turning Croxton's left. Roddy advises against a charge on Harrison, which would require crossing the ravine, and moves to the Confederate rear to begin escorting prisoners back to Noonan. Wheeler orders Anderson to move into Roddy's position, confronting Harrison. The 18th Indiana Battery has been keeping the Confederates at bay and is now out of ammunition. McCook orders the artillery carriages chopped down and the guns spiked. Both guns are abandoned as the artillerymen mount mules and join the plan to charge the Confederate line on the road near George Cook's house. Harrison's brigade and the 2nd Indiana make their way toward McCook after stampeding the mules and abandoning the ambulances. Croxton's 1st Brigade begins to leave the battlefield, but McCook orders the 8th Iowa to guard the retreat. The regiment stays behind to cover McCook, while Brownlow charges through Ashby's and Hume's brigades to the northwest, and McCook's column retreats to the southwest towards Corinth. The 8th Iowa is surrounded on the battlefield and surrenders to Ross at 5:30 p.m.
At the Battle of Browns Mill, Brigadier General Edward McCook had a section or 2 rifled guns from the 18th Indiana Battery. Joe Wheeler's Confederate cavalry had absolutely none. These particular cannon were called 3-inch rifles. Unlike most of the cannon used by the Union Army, which were made of bronze or cast iron, these 3-inch rifles were made out of wrought iron. This made them lightweight, and they were also extremely strong or durable. They were also extremely accurate. A 3-inch rifle in the hands of a good gun crew could hit a flour barrel at a range of 1,000 yards. The cannon McCook used at the Battle of Browns Mill fired 3 different types of ammunition. There was shell, there was case shot, and there was canister, each of which had a different function. Hotchkiss shells, which was the type the 18th Indiana Battery used, were designed to explode either in midair or upon contact with the ground, depending upon how they were fused. Case shot, on the other hand, while it outwardly looked exactly like an exploding shell, was somewhat different. It had a bursting charge in the center, but there was also a cluster of iron or lead balls surrounding that powder. So when the shell burst in the air, it rained these round musket balls down on the heads of the opposing soldiers. Shells and case shot were offensive weapons. Canister, on the other hand, was the last-ditch defensive weapon for an artilleryman. This stuff was designed to be effective at ranges of less than 400 yards. It had the effect of turning the cannon barrel into a gigantic shotgun that cut down everything in its path. Believe it or not, this is about the 2nd highest vantage point on the battlefield. In 1864, at the time the Battle of Browns Mill was fought, we would have had sweeping vistas out to the east and the north and the west, and we would have seen Joe Wheeler's dismounted Confederate cavalry coming toward us in a line of battle. Now, because this is the high ground, this is where the 2 pieces of artillery that were with General McCook's command unlimbered on that afternoon of July the 30th, 1864. After the ambush, they fell back to this ridge, and for the next 30 minutes, these two guns fought alone and unsupported. They kept back Wheeler's cavalry, giving the rest of McCook's men time to coalesce along the top of this ridge and form a final defensive position where McCook made his last stand.